What's up, everybody? It's Chad. We're back again with another episode of Ask Chad Grassy Logic. I'm here this week with a new guest, Tom from Yucca Point here in Las Cruces. Thank you for joining me, Tom.
How you all doing today?
Good, doing good, man. Appreciate it. Like I said, he's from here in Las Cruces, so it was a little bit short drive for you to come over here to the studio. So I appreciate you taking the time out of your day because I know you're a busy man.
I pretend to be. I pretend.
Yeah, we all do sometimes. I'm just kidding. But we have a really great episode in store for you guys. You know, of course, I got the New Mexico legislative update, and then we're going to talk about how we're starting to see more of this anti-cannabis popping up. And we'll get more into that, and you know how what we're kind of figuring out and what's going on as we go on through this. So let's go ahead and get started with the episode today. Tom, could you please go ahead and introduce yourself, if you don't mind?
Yeah, my name is Thomas Chronister. I am the operator at Yucca Point Dispensary. We are a small mom and pop based shop. My wife is the owner. We are woman owned. She is a Hispanic female, so we are really proud of all of that. We basically service the community. We're not one of the bigger fish.
Yeah.
We get in where we fit in around here.
Yeah. And, you know, there's plenty of pie for, you know, everyone in the area, you know, to take a piece of. And so, you know, you're just kind of grabbing the community kind of piece. You know, there's a niche for everybody, this kind of thing. You're not forced to shop at like one or two places like we were back in the medical days. You can find your home.
This is a buyer's market right now.
Oh, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely a buyer's market. And it does, you know, create a competitiveness in the industry, which is good. You know, there should be some, you know, some competitive, you know, some competitiveness going on in the industry. Yeah, you know, because if not, it gets stagnant and things get, you know, shitty.
That's what happened right before the second, when all the med places came in.
Yeah.
As rec.
Yeah.
They had such a dominant hold.
Yeah.
When the next generations of shops came up, everybody was thirsty just for anything different than what they were experiencing, which, I mean, honestly, with weed people, every strand is different and every strand is worth enjoying. And there's plenty of room to have shops.
Yeah.
Lots of shops. Maybe not as many as there are. As like you said, the pie gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Yeah. But definitely for the, even for my sake, I get tired of my weed. I want something different.
Yeah, different experience, right?
How do I find a different farm if I'm not going and saying, hey, what's this? What, they got really good weed there? I'll go check that out. Who grew this? What is this? You know?
And like there's nothing wrong with checking out other shops. It's not like you're being a spy, you know, because there needs to be more collaboration within the industry.
Well, we're always being spies. That's one thing, you know, like that's a whole
Well, you're being a consumer. I wouldn't say you're being a spy. You're being a consumer, you know, because you're allowed to be a consumer.
Yes.
And when you're a consumer, when you're done being a consumer, you can go back to being a business owner. You say, you know what? I like that experience as a customer. I want to provide this to my customers.
How do you get better?
Exactly. You know, and it makes that guy better because, okay, someone else is doing that. Should be flattering. Someone else is, you know, taking what you're doing. And I see it all the time with what I do with cannabis. You know, there's more people out there bringing information to the masses. And to be honest, it's good. That needs to happen. Now, some only do it temporarily and kind of fall off after whatever. But some are kind of sticking around, and I really enjoy that. And so I would be an asshole if I was like, no, I'm the only advocate that gets to tell everybody what's going on. But, you know, there's more coming up, and to be honest, it helps me out.
How do you be the best advocate if there's nothing to compete with, though?
Exactly, right, I guess. And I wouldn't want to say I'm competing against any advocate because we all have to work together. You know, and I talk to a lot of these other advocates, you know, as well, especially in other states. You know, it's great to...
Stronger in a group?
Exactly, you know, and like... I see these guys on YouTube with like the national channels and stuff like that. But dealing with the local guys is always a lot better because they know exactly what's going on the ground and what exactly is happening. Because the big guys, they cover the national stories, but once you get interested in one story, you want the little details and everything. What's actually going on? You know, how did this happen? And so that's when these national dudes come in, and I love hitting them up. I'm like, hey, send them a link. What's going on here? I'm like, oh, it's this and this and this. I'm like, oh, okay.
Cannabis is kind of like music, though. It's regional.
Yeah, exactly.
You know
You're right.
what I mean? Like where there is always going to be the same nationally. There is so much as far as like when they talk about bringing genetics from here, bringing genetics from there. These are good things. You know, genetics should spread, but it's really about what's going to work in New Mexico.
Yeah.
In my first year, and I noticed every gelato that they were popping was doing just really well in New Mexico. Just like the strain itself seems to be happy here.
Yeah.
And that's part of age, part of everything that's going on. But I'm sorry if I wander off.
No, you're good. You know, like
I'm gonna blame it on being really tired and not cannabis consumption.
It's all right. Like I said, you're a busy guy. You have your business and everything. But well, I guess let's backtrack a little bit and let's go to where your cannabis, experience came from. Like when did you really start getting into cannabis as a consumer and as someone working within an industry, either traditional or legal market wise?
So I have like the greatest smoking pot for the first time story.
Nice. All right.
I was in 8th grade in El Paso, Texas, and this is in 1996, 95, something of that nature. Mm-hmm. And I smoked pot with all of the hot skater chicks in a tunnel. I think I was like, nothing weird happened or anything, but like, you've got to teach Tom how to inhale. And I probably didn't smoke again until my freshman year. Mm-hmm. That's the 8th grade. So I was like, and by 9th grade, I loved pot.
Yeah.
And by maybe 15, I was, doing what everybody else does and legacy selling weed or being the guy that knew where the weed was so I could go score a bag for somebody.
Yeah.
Pinch the bag. Yeah. I got the fat bags.
Tax him.
And it all progressed. And eventually I was legacy wise quite involved in maybe not the early cannabis scene, definitely regionally here.
Yeah.
And that's actually a story. Everybody has a story about how cannabis started, but I can tell you about chronic getting big in El Paso and Mesilla Valley Madness growing here. And
that's a name I keep hearing about, and my followers, if you guys aren't sure what that is, that was actually a local cultivar here within the Cruces, El Paso area. It's well renowned. It's talked about. I hear legend stories about it all the time because I've never experienced it. But please.
Santa Fe was another area that they were growing that was, and this is 2000s. Yeah. 2000. My experiences would be 2000, 2006 based.
Okay.
In this area. There was another strand that came out of Ruidoso that was basically just an upgraded Mexican strand that we called it the Purple Pea, the Pretendo. and it looked all the rage, and it was about half price at the time. And, so there was a lot going on locally.
Yeah.
But what really happened is when Jerry Garcia died, there was a lot of hippies still. There was a lot of hippies in high school. This was still a thing that people were doing. And they all went and toured with fish and string cheese. And they all, did the whole thing, the whole story that they all, I sold this. But in reality, there was like real hippies behind all of this. They were collecting these kids. Yeah. They stuck them up in the mountains of California. And they all didn't necessarily grow weed as much as watched the weed.
Yeah.
And then they got paid in weed.
Yeah. So, as a teenager, that's great, right? Or a young adult.
But let's get down to a reality.
Yeah.
You get paid in 2 pounds of weed in 2000. You come back to El Paso, Texas. Who are you selling this to?
Right.
I'm just wondering because this is Mexiland.
Yeah.
There was no such thing as chronic. There was chronic top shelf. It came in from Dallas. Mesilla Valley Madness. If you were older and you had a parent that knew the Pretendo that would come down. If you're going up into Santa Fe, Albuquerque, there was weed, but we're really talking about there's no market.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no market.
Yeah. The connoisseur has always been the minority market in both.
Well,
is what it seems.
I mean, you gotta this was like bad at the time. We're really talking about swag days.
Oh, I remember you finding ribbons and shit in your weed and other random stuff that came from the bricks.
We were fortunate enough to be those people. Though.
Yeah.
And so the hippies that came back came to us and they were like, dude, I gotta go back.
Yeah.
Can you do this? And at first it was not the easiest, like waiters buying grams at 20 after they got out of the dead, and I won't go too deeply, but there was a much more lucrative market with drug dealers.
Yeah, for sure. And like I remember I'm from Alamogordo originally, and I remember even back then because I have older sisters, or I have an older sister and older cousins. And like, in the Mexican family, the cousins are kind of like sisters anyway. So it was like having many sisters growing up because, I have a lot of my cousins are older than me. It was like generations, you got like the 70s kids, the 80s kids, the 90s, so late 80s, 90s kids. So my older cousins, a bunch of them just happened to be like the Gen Z or the Gen X, excuse me. And we happened to be the millennials. And so we knew all that shit was going on all the time. We'd hear about it. And of course, when I got older, they still had Reggie, like we didn't get medical cannabis in New Mexico till 2007. I graduated high school in 2006. So, I was already an adult.
Reggie put me through college.
Yes, yeah. And Reggie was all we could find back then, and like even when I did, smoke weed for the brief time I did, like in middle school and shit, it was Reggie. And the one time we did find something that was better than Reggie, they're like, oh, it's Dro, it's hydro. And back then, we're stupid kids. Someone told us it was grown underwater. And so I was under the assumption it grew like fucking seaweed. And like when they did that, and it was the dumbest shit ever now that I think about it as an adult. And I was like, that makes no sense.
I think it was in a movie like that.
I think so.
I want to
something
say like the babysitting movie with Christina Applegate. They showed it all stupid, retarded, but I could be wrong.
No, that was my mind process on it, and but no, it's just the roots submerged.
That was a very weird time for weed as far as on the illegal market. So right at that time period, the Mexican farms and the Mexican cartels started doing things differently.
Really?
Yeah. So we were getting a lot less brick weed, less individual pounds, and what we were calling middies up north or fluff down here, which were big 30-pound bricks that you could hit and they would just fall apart. Giant colas, and it's Mexi weed, but it was so much nicer. It was like Christmas weed all year round.
I'm sure it's easier to break up.
Everything. A pound wouldn't fit in a gallon bag.
Yeah.
It would, like, you couldn't seal it because it was just all big.
There's more air.
Yeah. I mean, Mexi weed is so important. This isn't factual. This is an opinion.
Yeah.
So many people started with Mexi weed, and then these people are like, I need sativas and I need sativas. And I'm not going to argue the energy or whatever. I'm not a personal believer in any of that, but there is something to be said to mama's home cooking.
Yeah.
And all these people were smoking sativas for 20 years of their life.
Yeah.
30 years of their life.
Yeah.
And while the terpene profile was on a more moderate level, and it started to change at that time period where it started becoming more prevalent. Sorry.
No, please go ahead.
I think that's why there's so many of the sativa heads. They don't even realize that, dude, all you ever smoked was a sativa.
Yeah.
That's all it means. Weed from the South.
Yeah. Yeah, and we all grew up with that kind of cannabis in the area and stuff like that, because I remember it too. And one thing I do remember is towards the end, because you can't really find Reggie in the area. I can't anyway. I'm sure it's there. But the last time I was able to really find it was like 2011, 2012ish. And man, it would give me a headache. And I was like, this is different. I don't remember it giving me a headache. And I remember other people telling me like, yeah, Reggie gives me a headache. And I'm like,
a different experience.
Okay.
I was on carts. I was using strictly carts. Me and my wife had an Allstate, and very, very business professional. Never smelled like weed. I didn't even actually smoke flower for maybe a year. Just nonstop carts. The whole dank run, and the brass knuckles, and either way, I thought, throwing off the weed no more. And I smoked Reggie with somebody out playing Pokemon Go because I'm a nerd, and I got just blasted, and it lasted hours.
Yeah,
and that's when I first realized that this terpene stuff is really more prominent in weed than I ever realized.
Yeah.
And so I don't mind. I smoke a lot of mids though.
Yeah.
Me personally, I can't afford to smoke top shelf.
Yeah.
I'll treat myself.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
It's so I've never been like an anti-Mexi. I think with high school, there's always going to be a market, and with the illegal market, there's always going to be some form of market for it.
Yeah.
It's just I mean, as you get older though, you aren't going to be able to score swag anyways because of where the market.
Yeah, and the market's always changing and everything too.
Yeah, it's always been a younger area thing. You know what I mean? Like, but it's so much nicer to be able to walk up in a shop and have lab tested.
Yeah.
The strain. We're in it 3 years in now, we know the farms. If
Yeah.
you're an informed consumer, you're going in and you're not even worried about, you're going, okay, I want to know where, I can name any names, but so-and-so.
Yeah.
And who grew this? So, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and I really like the fact that we have that, and that's something we push for a long time. You know, I know we have a long way to go when it comes to where we need to be, because, and we'll talk about this later on in the show.
Yeah, I was thinking that. So.
Yeah, in the episode we'll talk about this, and I'm going to mention it now. Is, you know, the laws just never kept up with us, and they refuse to keep up with us. But we'll get onto that conversation a little bit later. Let's talk more about your shop, like itself, you know, because I really want to dig into that. So Yucca Point, when did you really decide, or you and your wife decide to open up a shop here in New Mexico? You know, you mentioned being from El Paso and stuff like that.
I was against it.
Why is that?
We didn't have the money.
For sure, that makes sense.
Okay, so first thing I'm gonna say is when you hear there's too many licenses. So we're one of those, like, if they hadn't put out that many licenses, we would have never fallen in.
Yeah.
We own a small plot of land in New Mexico, and that was able to get her to apply for the license. She basically, her sister-in-law, and I'm not gonna lie about this, her sister-in-law and brother-in-law were watching the news when the weed fest, when everything was like, oh, look at all the lines outside the dispensaries, and they were like, hey, you know, Tom knows about this. I was like, we don't have $1 million.
Yeah.
You know, like flat out, I was like, we don't got $1 million.
Yeah.
We're gonna need real money to do this.
Yeah.
And they just kind of kept pushing, and then, you know, she was like, hey, I got the license. I was like, we're really gonna do this? I started taking it more serious at that point in time. We went to Vegas. And we went to the CannaCon, the Biz, or whatever. I don't even remember which one it was.
Yeah.
But, oh my God, did I learn?
Yeah.
I don't drink. I don't gamble. So I said everything that I could. Because all it is it's a convention hall. But then the really important stuff is listening to the speakers.
Yeah. The individual breakout classrooms.
Yeah, oh my God.
Yeah.
I remember several people just spoke. I never met them. You know what I mean? Like we're like, I still use what they told me every single day. But get back to it. We went through with it. Her sister backed out. Then me and my wife went through with it. We sold the Allstate that we had. We sold an extra house that we had. We borrowed personal money from everybody we could that wasn't going to be like, I want to own your business.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Because that's what they want at the end of the day a lot of the times. And it's unfortunate. Yeah.
And really, we were looking good. And my wife picked a wonderful name with Yucca. It's the state flower, which we thought was a clever play. And then just regionally, if you drive between here and El Paso, this is the area for the Yucca. You drive between the Gap, it looks like there's like soldiers lined up.
The landscape does change. Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
definitely. I drive through quite a bit through New Mexico, quite frequently, and definitely after Hatch, they slow down. And I mean drastically. There's a really pretty one in the middle of the road right outside of Los Lunas, but he's like a lonely.
He's like by himself. Because if you guys don't know, New Mexico, our landscapes are vastly different between north, south, east, and west even. So there's a point in the state where when you drive up north, the landscape changes. It's more like Colorado. When you get up closer to Colorado, you know, you start getting more of that landscape. But the further south you get, the less cactus you see. And so when people, you know, depict New Mexico with like seguros or whatever, I'm like, that's not even grown here. What the hell? Like, the people have them in their yard, they will grow here, but like they're not from here. You know, like that's what the hell. Like, you might as well put a freaking palm tree because we know we have them here in Cruces. You know, it's like you might as well put a palm tree if that's the case. You know, so it's funny because they don't really depict the real, you know, desert wildlife. Usually it's the yucca plant, the prickly pear, the barrel cactus, you know, stuff like that. And I never really see those, but they're pretty plants.
It started everything we were doing, honestly, as far as color scheme. That's when we're, you know, like, I might get beat up for this one as we went with a red, a turquoise, and a brown because I was like, those are, you know, Southwestern colors. And I get it. There's a huge Southwestern color palette that I don't understand or know anything about, and I was informed about this. But yeah, we our current landlord down in El Paso for the Allstate, we were just looking all over. We didn't have the money to build out. We do own like commercial land in Chaparral, no money to build out. I actually looked at 1 billion of the locations in Sunland that are dispensaries currently. Yeah. And I didn't like the feel of Sunland.
Yeah. It's little Dubai down there, dude. Yeah.
I just kind of, I could. I like to say I live in the future.
Yeah.
And I just knew. I was like, dude, we're not going to compete down here. What's going to come here we won't be able to compete.
Yeah. And it's a ticking time bomb as is. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of market share.
Yeah.
But there's just not enough in that that little area. Even though they have El Paso and everything, I look down there and I'm just like,
if
you know, that you make all the money or you make
no money.
No money.
Yeah, there's no middle. Yeah, you're right. There's no middle in Sunland Park. It's either you're making it well or you're not making it at all. And it's little Dubai there. It's hustle and bustle craziness, and it's propped up for the fact that it's right next to a state, that is illegal, still. And when that changes, either federally or through when Texas finally, gets their head out their ass, that area is just going to die. And I've said this many times before, and I tell operators this. I'm like, if you're not finding an exit strategy for your area when you're at Texas, and that's the only place you're at, if you don't have an exit strategy for when something changes, you're fucked. Like, I don't know what you guys are going to do.
That's the exact reason we kind of came to Cruces.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
The fight was going to be much harder in a different manner.
Yeah.
We probably would have made a lot more money in the beginning.
Yeah.
But I don't know that that would have ever mattered after a year.
I agree with you, because you see those people and they started out strong, and I've seen it, and High Horse One, they started out strong and then boom, and then issues come along, not just the market change, but then like just business issues come along, personal life issues come along, other legal troubles come along, and that really can take a business, and that's really what we saw happen. And now we're starting to see more of a stabilized market happening. I mean, the markets really don't get stable until about year 5. We're in year 4 now. Yay for us. So we got about another year, and it's already on track for stabilization. I just really wish that they change the plant counts for the big guys, because that's really what our issue is it's an oversupply, because these guys are growing like 20,000 plants. At first they were only allowed 10,000, but now when they had the emergency rule, they bumped it up to 20. Well, I mean, people that have grown cannabis know that when you grow 20,000 plants, well, that's 20,000 more problems that you got to deal with, and it's harder to keep the quality up.
The problem, and I agree with you, the problem is, and I'm just seeing this firsthand, is it's not that the smaller farms can't compete, it's they don't know how.
Yeah, that's true.
They don't know. It's going to go into one real quick. I want to throw out this. New Mexico has a website called Crop. For anybody looking to invest into cannabis, you need to know this website like the back of your hand. It is for everybody. It is not just for business owners. You do not need a license. It says our sales. You can look up my shop sales. You can look up every shop.
Transparency.
Yes,
I love it.
So you guys should go if there's anybody looking to get into this cannabis game and they're about to waste their grandma's fortune. Look at it. Look at it, please, guys. It's going to tell you who makes what, and you're going to see that a lot of the shops don't make any money. They're completely just running through an investor's money. Yeah. It's sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. And that's a really great point, because there is a lot of money that goes into this, but you have to understand this is a risk. Like it's a gamble. May you make it? Sure. May you not make it? Yeah, that's probably more likely what's going to happen. Especially when regulations change unfavorably and they start changing them to where it favors more bigger entities than it does smaller entities, and that's what we're trying to avoid in the state, especially. Well, we'll get onto that in the next conversation.
Let me get back to
for sure.
So what the problem being is that the bigger entities are doing a better job.
Yeah,
and that's the problem. Is that the smaller farms are not doing a great job. It's not that I can't compete. If they weren't growing 20,000, then I might not be able, because I lost 4 farms from last year. I literally don't have these sources of outdoor anymore. No. I don't have these sources because whatever reasons. No. You know what I mean? Water hauling.
Oh, that's been such a huge issue.
That costs a completely profitable company to go under.
Yeah.
To everything from mold to, you know what I mean? Like it has affected but the big fish have lowered prices and have been stable. Their products have only gotten better, and I don't have any of the issues as far as mold and stuff so it's really hard. And I'm a mom and pop. I've supported small farms since day one. It's getting hard on me. It's getting really, really hard on me to do it anymore.
Yeah.
They're the ones coming with the mold. Yeah. They're the ones coming with the prices, and I'm like, dude, it's not. That's last year.
Yeah.
It's not this year.
Yeah.
And I'm not making any more money. I'm so sorry I keep touching your mic.
Oh no, you're good. You're good, man.
I'm not making any more money. We're making less. Our profit margins are getting squeezed and squeezed and squeezed and squeezed and squeezed. And everybody knows this, you know. But I mean, what inflation on cannabis? You guys pay less. Pay for more for eggs, more for gas, more for meat, more for, but cannabis is cheap as can be.
Yeah. And one of it is an overabundance of cannabis in our state. You know, it's an oversupply, and so it's a buyer's market. And it's one of the reasons is those guys at 20,000, they can give you the cheaper price, and they have the money to keep the quality at a mid range at least, mid to lower tier sometimes. But there's a lot of mom and pop businesses, and not just on the farmer side. There's a lot of mom and pop retailers that don't know what they're doing.
Oh God.
Yeah, and it's scary because you run into those issues, like a smaller farm that doesn't know what they're doing, mold. You're going to run into that. Or, to try to go some other way. And same thing with the retailer that doesn't know what they're doing, they're going to buy that mold. And then people are going to get used to doing this whole thing.
I would say 65% of the sourcing agents don't know what mold is.
I would agree with you.
They just simply don't. They don't understand trichome structures. They don't want to get too far, but mold specifically is a huge problem.
Let's talk about
New Mexico.
Yeah.
Right now, the last 2 years, you're outdoor, and this is not every farm. And this is everybody, that's why farm reputability has gotten so big.
Yeah.
Because it was really wet, guys. And I'm going to go on a rant, stop me. So the biggest misconception that I hear is that everybody thinks mold is on old weed or on this, it got moldy. That's food.
Yeah.
So mold starts when the weed gets dense.
Mm-hmm.
When the flower, turns to a bud, it captures moisture.
Yeah.
So with the moisture in the air and a simple, I might say, was it a barometer? Mm-hmm. A little piece of metal on the wall will tell you, there's more complicated, but we can get it down to that's how much humidity is in the air.
Yeah.
Again, farmers' almanacs, just doesn't seem to be being done. I don't know if it's just lack of experience. Mm-hmm. I think there was a lot of people that invested saying they could. Somebody told them, I can do this. That person's no longer with them and they're struggling to do without it. And they're also told, you add this chemical or you add this and it kills the mold. And no, guys, you need really expensive dehumidifiers.
Yeah.
And you need dehumidification tents. Different tents. You can buy them from Temu now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Literally. They're expensive.
Yeah.
It's expensive, but if you plan to be in this long term, it's preventative. You run it prior. You can have that weed growing and all that moisture and all that, but as soon as you're going into bud, you're going into light depth, you're going into cure mode, you need to be controlling all of those aspects.
Yeah.
Side rant. That's what the strips that the bovitas. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people like to throw them in their weed and everything. That's not what that's for. They're for curing. Oh, okay. They have a very set limit. And if you look, one's to lower and one's to raise. So while we're curing weed, it can get out of control. We needed to say it can go too low, it can get too dry, it can go too high, depending on where you're at. That's really what the bovitas are usually mostly for. Yeah. It's not for, we don't want to add moisture back to weed that's already been cured.
Yeah.
It's not a...
And it's a disgusting thing. I've seen it happen. It happened in the medical days here in New Mexico, and I've seen it firsthand. They'll drop, the...
Side rant. Sorry, that was
No, you're good, yeah. I've seen it. I'm just I'm traumatized because I watched somebody literally wet one of those makeup pads, the cotton ones, and just throw it in a jar. And I was like, what are you doing? She's like, oh, rehydrating the weed. And I was like... Oh my God! I'd rather a lettuce than that, but even that's just fucking gross. It's an old street trick too.
Yeah.
I don't want it done, but at least give me that shit. Yeah, it is, and a lot of people swear by it, but it may work, but you're also adding other pathogens in there, because there's a difference between your homegrown own stuff or whatever at your house versus what you're selling at a shop. When you're selling at the shop, you want that to be the cleanest product possible. You don't want to introduce something in there because that's not only going to get somebody sick, that's just going to make you lose money.
There's packaging. And I'm not talking packaging that everybody thinks. So behind the scenes, a lot of people just vacuum seal the weed.
Yeah.
And what they don't realize is, dude, even when we were sending dope illegally, we wrapped it in a turkey bag and then vacuum sealed. There's just so lack of these little tiny things that those vacuums, those bags, are super porous.
Yeah.
Not leaking air, hermetically sealed, but on the inside they're rough.
Yeah.
I never put cannabis on a paper like this. It has to be semi-gloss.
Yeah.
Full gloss. We lose trichomes to all that. I got people bringing me top shelf, and I'm like, that's in a vacuum
Yeah.
sealed bag.
Yeah. You're like, what do you? Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm like,
And then it compresses the cannabis more too, and it causes the trichomes, especially, since you're at more of a room temperature or even warmer, those trichomes warm up and then they stick together. And that's why you have that bud like, oh,
Slight
it's a big old brick.
decarboxylation, yeah.
So when I see a brick like that, I'm like, yeah, that just means all your trichomes melted and stuck together. Like now it's all.
we lose the presentation when that's what we have now is like the fortunate or the ability to go and buy a QP.
Yeah.
The best weed that I can source for you guys. You know what I mean? And now with the way the farms are in the competitive market, I can get 4 QPs. I can keep it fresh. I can get it right into a ball jar. I'm not overstocking my back safe. It's not sitting back there getting dry.
Yeah.
And we can present the best possible products to people. That's the beauty of a store.
Yeah.
That's like the when you came from the streets and you care about the plant, that's the difference. That's like, dude, we can take advantage of all this.
So what do you do at the shop? Do you do prepackaged or do you do deli style? Deli style.
We're
Okay.
deli.
Okay.
We opened that way
Yeah.
2.5 years ago. I do not. I mean, we sell a couple
Yeah.
of products that would be prepackaged. We'll do the Tyson. Again, I have to. It's funny. Elevated's I'm say the brand name because I say it with love. Okay,
Yeah, of course.
They are the franchisees of the Tyson, and I once had a note on it, and it says, "It better be fresh. She will kill me." Because I'm real picky about it. If I can't sell the box of in a month, it's in a Mylar.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the same way with rosin.
Yeah.
Oh my
Rosin's
God.
rough. It's hard.
Bro,
Yeah.
when you see it and it's just white, and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna sell it in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can keep it cold. I can do everything for it. I didn't sell it in 2 weeks. I just deep down, I know.
Right.
You gotta buy small. You gotta move quick. You gotta, and these are time-consuming processes. There's a computer involved nowadays that takes up a lot of time. It's not just driving. I literally sell weed behind a counter. I got calluses on my hands from driving around the state.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work to and you got to be fluid.
Yeah.
The competition is no joke. I've seen a lot of this business method. We're going to start the farm, and then we're going to open the shop. Then we're only going to sell our own products, which is great. Your products can be the best when they want different.
Yeah. Exactly. Well,
What if that didn't work for them?
Yeah.
What works for you isn't going to work for me.
Snakes and sparklers.
Yeah.
You don't want to be snakes and sparklers.
I think food. The way I always it's how I explain terpenes. But I like candy. You like candy?
Yeah, I love candy.
Do you like chocolate or you like hard candy?
I like the sour candy.
There you go. You do got a favorite, right?
Yeah, see, exactly.
But I mean, you'll have a chocolate every once in a while, no?
Of course, yeah. Snickers. Yeah.
That's terpenes.
Yeah, there you go.
You eat with your nose. We
Yeah.
all know that. We were taught that in elementary school. So the difference between people is, I don't like fish. I like fish. We just have different taste palates.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that fish might be the bomb fish. It ain't the bomb fish to me. Weeds like that. Everybody comes in there like, that's the bomb weed. And I'm like, to you.
Yeah.
And that's great. That's
Yeah.
what I want. That's
Yeah.
why the sourcing side becomes a whole other aspect of the job. Is I'm not shopping for me.
Yeah. Shopping
not-
for you.
How do I know what you like?
Yeah.
So I've developed where I'm going to ramble, go off subject. I'm so sorry for this.
No worries.
I look for the best possible strand. Maybe not, the farm's got 8. Hey man, you did that one.
Yeah.
You know? And it gets hard.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work to run that. I've run upwards of 13 farms,
Yeah. Dang.
40 different vendors at a time. And
Yeah.
we're small. We are uber small. We're talking.
It's a small shop. Yeah. I've been in it. Yeah.
It's run by, 4 people.
Yeah.
And
Definitely mom and pop.
Definitely mom and pop. About as mom and pop as you can get.
Yeah, no, it is.
This one.
And I love seeing that because, you are still putting out great products and people still do want to, I mean, your Dime Day, people were like flocking to that. I don't know if you want to explain that or not, what you were doing with the Dime Day, but, that was something that was unique and, people were really liking that.
Yeah, we love Dime.
Yeah.
And they do it for everybody. They do a buy one. Some people do a penny. Some people do $1. I do $1. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
I've always been more affordable with Dime.
Yeah.
And I've had to do several price changes to keep it affordable, and people just catch up. But we were fortunate enough to maybe do a couple extra things I won't mention. None of them illegal.
Yeah.
But I prefer to keep them to myself.
Trade secret. Trade secret. I got you.
To build Dime Day to being something that I actually, unfortunately, had to pay for Dime Day yesterday. It's our community day almost. We allow you to buy one extra, and the shop pays for it.
Yeah.
So every other shop does 1 and 1, and we do 2, so you can get 4.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it yesterday because I am paying for it because I might have worked the system a little bit too much. Dime said pause for just a little bit.
Yeah.
They have a return to purchase value, and when you're selling all of your product on one day, that gets skewed.
Yeah. But people loved it. I kept seeing people talk about it or even ask me like, "Hey, have you been to Yucca Point?" And
blessings to my shop.
Yeah.
It's all what people make of it. Like we built it slowly. We made a bigger deal out of it. I avoided the other vendors' days, really focused on Dime's day. They were one of the first pushing it anyways.
Yeah.
And it just, I don't know if we worked it right or whatever. It's great. We do double the business of a regular day.
Yeah.
Every dime. You know what I mean? Like, and people just love it. That's great. As a business owner, I run I can count on like, okay, that isn't part of my budget. That's like a whole spike. They're very creative with that. That's more Dime, and then several other shops know how to use it.
And you figured out how to use this to its full potential that Dime didn't even realize. They. Sorry, Dime. That wasn't me.
Love you guys. Man. Love you guys. All right. But yeah, I basically said I got kicked out of the casino, didn't I?
That's pretty much what it was. You got kicked out of the casino.
Yeah,
so what other deals?
Come back.
Yeah, exactly. You can come back in a month, which is nice. At least they let you come back. So what other deals do you have that you're running in the shop right now?
Okay, so on our flower, and we're using Truforia Farms, which is the farm behind Elevated.
Yeah.
We have 2 different ranges. We have $40 ounces, and they are 2 for $60. And so that is really important to us. We do a lot of ounces. And then we have another section that is $50 ounces, and they're 2 for $80, which with tax works out to $97, which is like real perfect. We are a shop that doesn't put the tax inside. I know that's like a huge thing in New Mexico. We are that's your price. If you have a med card, that's the price, and then plus tax.
Yeah.
22% right now. Going up, guys, going up, get med cards.
Yeah, I keep telling you, there's no bill in the legislature to stop that either. So the taxes are going up again this year. So,
every it's in the legislation. In fact, that's where it's at.
We were fighting for a bill last year to end that, but it was kind of muted by banning hemp. They were trying to ban, which didn't pass. So it got muted by that, but we really needed that to pass, and there was no way it was going to pass because they were like, "Oh, we already got the budget for that in there, and if we don't get that 1%, we got to get it from somewhere else."
I love New Mexico's marijuana bill, though. Like,
it
was so well done. It was so well done that this state created lounges.
Oh yeah, dude.
And Vegas was like
one of the first fucking ones.
Why don't we have that?
Yeah, exactly. Shit, we need to do that too.
Yeah, and it was really what it was for is I don't think they're very lucrative, and I'm sure there's people that are making money that can tell me otherwise. I'm so sorry, all right, but honestly, what it was for is to pass through the Bible Belt of this area, of the center of the state. It gave them, hey, well, you're gonna be selling weed just to Texas, which look at Sunland Park.
Yeah,
it gave them they're gonna stay in our state, eat at our restaurants. And smoke, and it's genius. Not so lucrative, but like genius.
I think the reason why it's not so lucrative is the way that people have gone about it. They haven't figured out that part of the industry being hospitality. It's a hospitality, it's not a retail. And so I think once people figure out that they need to treat it like hospitality, and to be honest, Astro Buds just opened up in Sunland Park and it's like a bar and grill. So we're going to see if that model is actually the way to go, to treating it hospitality, just like going to Dave & Buster's, a Buffalo Wild Wings. That's a hospitality thing. You're not going in to Walmart and buying the wings and leaving.
They're called.
Well, you can't, but
they're called consumption lounges, right?
Exactly.
But my problem with that being is, with alcohol, you consume 1, you consume 2, you consume 3. You're more than likely going to consume more. No offense, people.
Yeah.
How many people are smoking 6 joints while they sit there?
To be honest, not a lot, because when I go to lounges a lot.
Yeah, there's a limit to consumption as far as lounges.
Yeah.
There's a limit per person how much money you're gonna make, and that's where I get to be like, there's a lot of staff, and there's just totally. I mean, you can put a drink in their hand. You might be able to put an edible in their hand. You might be able to get a dab hit, maybe several. You know what I mean? But there's just a limit where alcohol is. It's just different. It's more lucrative in the form of they don't quit consuming.
Yeah.
With cannabis, people stop consuming at a point.
Yeah, they do. And that's where you have to figure out how you're going to do this. I mean, it is hospitality, so you have to figure out how to keep them coming. Do you provide food? Do you provide entertainment? And some of these places are doing that. Actually, was it Thrive up in Albuquerque? Yeah, Thrive Cannabis. Dope lounge, dude. You walk in, it's a coffee shop too. So you can walk in, get your coffee, get your chai tea or green tea, whatever, and sit there, and it's perfect, because not only can you sit there and hang out, you can have your coffee, drink, and you might buy 6 joints, but you're there for 3 hours. Like you're there for
something else though. Like music.
Yeah.
Something, venue
DJ
related, but there's just, it gets to be, how many drinks can you put in people's hands? How many, just from the business side, not from the sheer enjoyment side, which they're awesome.
Yeah. Oh, they're great.
I mean, that's phenomenal to go and have a place that you can consume cannabis safely with like-minded people. Have a joke and meet people.
Yeah.
They're great in that aspect. I'm just like, I can't afford that HVAC system.
Right, yeah. And that's one thing that kind of pissed me off is like, okay, so you guys are telling us we can't smoke outside. We have to smoke inside. Like that kind of goes around everything you guys have wanted this whole time. Like that doesn't make any sense. Because I was actually a part of the creating process of 4 lounges when we brought them in the medical days.
Okay.
I was on the SM-105 task force for the governor. It was a governor-appointed task force, and my goal was to figure out how we want these lounges. And back in the day, they were originally for the patients, and they were supposed to be they were supposed to be anywhere and for anyone. And what I mean by that is I wanted to see lounges a couple of miles from military installation because spouses have medical cannabis cards. I know many of them, and I'm sure you know that too. People who live in college dorms, they should have a lounge near that because they can't smoke there too. And what it was intended for was for people to leave their cannabis there because it was mostly for people who couldn't consume at home. And don't get me wrong, any patient was able to use it. But our thought process when we created it was these people, even the out-of-state people, because we got reciprocity, the out-of-state people should be able to store their cannabis there because they're eventually going to leave. And if they come back on a regular basis, they can just go to their locker. And I've actually seen a couple implement that. And I think that kind of builds on customer loyalty. And I think that's something that's going to kind of separate people because they can charge them monthly for a subscription to storage. And so that's something that I've seen people do. Like, we only charge $5-10 for, monthly storage or whatever, and other little perks and stuff. So people can get creative like that. And that's what I love seeing, is getting creative because we gave them that ability. And I told people, I'm like, you can do lockers, right? They're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, you can do storage lockers here. Like we put that back in the day. We made sure that shit stayed, so you guys can do that because that's.
I had no idea. I mean, but it's a really good idea.
Yeah.
My thing is the respect.
Yeah.
So we got this gift of having legal cannabis. We don't want to, crash a bunch of cars into the wall kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We want to be respectful. We want to have a place to consume cannabis where it's not bothering somebody who doesn't consume cannabis.
Yeah.
Let's be real, guys. We call it loud for a reason. And they're great. Just if somebody can find a way to make them profitable on the business owner so that they can be better, man, a community center kind of thing would be awesome.
Yeah.
But it would have to be like outside source funded.
Yeah, and like I said, they're still figuring it out, and I think they're figuring out what doesn't work, and what they're finding out what doesn't work is charging the customer before even walking into the lounge. That does not work in any market. Like I've never been to a bar that forces me to literally have a drink or order the drink before I go into the bar. You know what I mean? Like
that only works when there is, and you're not paying them guys, a lot of pretty girls on the inside that wanted to go there voluntarily.
Exactly.
Then you can.
Yeah.
You can charge a cover charge.
Yeah, exactly. Then you could do a cover charge, or if you want to do a cover charge, whatever. But like, it's just uncomfortable to the customer, like I said, it's hospitality. And that's not very hospitable, charging me before I even walk in the door. Like that's a little ridiculous. So I think they're finding out, okay, that doesn't work. Let's not do that. What else is going to make us profitable? Where can we go? And I'm liking seeing the experimentation, but yeah, once they figure out where this niche is, and to be honest, it's probably going to take a long time. And with the market always changing and then the federal law is always changing, who knows what the fuck's going to happen, and my prediction, and some people would disagree with me, and Josh is actually one of them. I feel that in about 10 to 15 years, we're going to see drinks take over. And the reason why I'm saying that is it's not the current users like you and I like drinks myself, but I'm probably going to smoke for a long time in cannabis. The new consumers, the younger crowd, Gen Z doesn't really smoke, and they don't drink alcohol.
Smoke.
Yeah, but they like cannabis. So if they don't want to smoke, they're going to opt to drink cannabis. And so that's where that prediction is coming from, is it's either going to be the younger crowd or the people just discovering cannabis from alcohol, the ones switching, because it's easier for you to kind of drink versus, trying to get used to smoking. Because I know when I was trying to get used to it, it was kind of rough and I didn't really like it. But if I had an alternative, who knows? Yeah.
Just general experience, gummies are preferred by non-smoking cannabis users.
Yeah.
They're completely something that, I wish I were this way, but the people that take, a gummy once a week on movie night and just enjoy, you know what I mean? Like that is awesome. And I do believe that it probably is going that way. And I mean, it's just because smoking isn't something that is being pushed anymore.
Yeah. We made it the devil.
Yeah. When we were younger, everybody had it.
No, he was just making a gesture.
We were seeing cigarettes and everything. It was, I tell people all the time, I was like, they look so cool.
Yeah.
But the kids don't think that. They don't, but they do drink a lot of energy drinks. Mm-hmm. They do drink the canned kind of stuff that is them. They're stuck at computers playing their game. So I don't think that you're very far off as far as that could be where cannabis consumption goes to the...
Because who are you going to offend with a drink in your hand? Like, say I'm at a bar and that Karen's going to get mad at me for having a drink in my hand, even though she has one in her hand. Like, it's not going to happen.
But she does. And
she doesn't even know what to do.
If you were single and you were ready to mingle, and so was she probably is not going to mind kissing the dude that has a cherry flavored drink over the dude that's smoking a bunch.
Yeah. Yeah, the dragon breath.
Yeah.
Only certain people don't mind that, like
there's always going to be smokers.
Exactly.
Cannabis, and just my opinion is, love concentrates. I love everything about cannabis, but the realest experience to me is that first hit off a joint or a bowl or whatever. There's always going to be that smoker.
Yeah.
There's always going to be the person that before they take a drink goes,
yeah, exactly.
You're not going to get rid of that.
Yeah.
But I do believe that you're correct as far as like, drinks probably are the future. Emulsification will only get better.
Yeah.
There's different aspects of it.
Yeah.
Using rosin.
Yeah.
It's going to be changing in that.
Because you're going to be matching flavors versus trying to create them. You know what I mean? Like, what goes with this?
Because you could probably use food grade rosin, and you're not going to have artisan, handcrafted. So the process is getting to be on cheap rosin, almost as automated. You know what I mean? As distillate, and so it'll eventually be the same price. Yeah. And of course, stuff like what you do. Yeah. Is always going to be that. That's the difference. Yeah. The hand on it. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. It makes it the good. But then once rosin's introduced into that market, and it's commercial food grade rosin, and it's not really doesn't matter, but the consumption's cleaner. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. I see that.
Yeah, and you know, some people disagree, and I could be wrong. We both could be wrong, whatever. But in a world where we're on the same kind of track, that's kind of where I see it, and it's kind of where it's heading. You know, like I see the drinks all over the place. I mean, one of the NBA teams is allowing, you know, I think in Illinois, I think Chicago, they're allowing THC drinks in the stadium. So it's already happening, and it already started on the hemp side. I'm just applying it to the cannabis side because that's just a precursor.
Wild had CBD drinks out 2 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
With the Wild label on it, and I was selling their gummies in my shop. And
yeah, exactly. And don't get me wrong, like usually the drinks are lower dosage, and you'll find the 100 milligrams or whatever. But I do see that more being catered towards the people who don't consume as much too. You know, the guy who can have a 6-pack and it's a total of what, 60 milligrams, and he'll be fine. He'll be feeling good. You know, not too zooted. You know,
there's a whole aspect that we're also leaving out though is. So when you go into Chili's, right, and you go to the drink menu, what do you see?
Alcohol.
Badass drinks, though.
Cool, right?
So our industry is just a little bit behind. Yep. It is going to be where you're going to go in and there's going to be a sugar-covered THC frozen drink made to look fancy and pretty, and that's going to be changing to everything because we don't have that. Right now. Sorry.
We don't. I was going to say in Silver City, I forgot about this. Buffalo Bud over there, the guy, he comes from the restaurant industry. I ordered margaritas there. They have like, you know, all kinds of, you know, like cannabis infused and restaurant stuff. So infused food. So if you can do that, I think you'd be great because like I spent like $8 on the 10 milligram drink, but it was good. And I miss margaritas. I just don't drink anymore. But if I could have a cannabis margarita, you're doing great. And like
the I factor, the whole deal.
Or Bloody Mary, you know, like a cannabis infused Bloody Mary. I love Bloody Marys. Yeah, you know, like give me something a little bitter.
I mean, let's I'm gonna throw out that. Let's take Big Chicken.
Yeah.
You know, look at you could make ice cubes with their grapes and put a grape inside of them. There is so much that we have yet to do.
Yes,
as far as presentation with that area of cannabis, with the drinks and everything. I think that there is going to be a huge movement as far as those are something that you can make with your steak and it increases the allure of the dinner and the meal. It's like having the fancy cocktail. It's like having, you know. It's
like, you know, my dinner overall was 50 milligrams and I feel great or whatever, you know.
And so in the shop like that is doing that, as soon as they get that menu of that cocktail and they've got the margarita look and now they've got a swirl in it of white and it's just like, what are they doing? It's only going to drive their business because unfortunately things are I factor. You know what I mean? And I know what we're going to go into. That's not necessarily what I'm saying, but like architecture, like anything, you're going to look at a steak. You're like, that one's got lines on it. It looks all nice.
Yeah.
And you're gonna look at the other one and be like, dude, there's like char here. It could be the best tasting steak, but you're gonna be like,
yeah, it's like, So, but anyway, I don't want to, you know, cut us off on that conversation there. No, don't apologize. These are great conversations. We just need to move on to the next conversation and everything. So I appreciate that. And thank you for, you know, coming today and everything, but I look forward to keeping this conversation going. But before we do, where can people find you in town and everything?
Okay. We're on 1000 North Main. We are right next to the brand new Starbucks and right next to the CVS where Picacho and Main reach.
You guys sure looked out with that Starbucks opening up there. Coffee and weed, man.
Coffee and weed. Yeah, no, we love the Starbucks for sure.
Yeah.
I think they get more money out of me than I get out of them. Yeah, I mean, it's easy to give the directions now when it's not an empty lot.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, and versus just going off the CVS, you know, everyone knows a Starbucks.
Really easy to find, believe it or not.
Yeah, it's right off on Main Street. You know, it's right there on the corner, so it's hard to miss. So if you guys have a chance, you're in the area, or you're looking for a new shop, go check them out. You know, great conversations. You see my buddy Josh over there with the big beard, really fun, jolly guy. Go say hi to him.
We call him the pretty one.
The pretty one. So thank you for that, and we're going to move on to our last two topics of the day. Sorry, guys, a little bit of a longer episode today. I'm going to give you guys the NMLegis update. This one's going to be a little bit different because we're going to be talking about one bill. There hasn't been any cannabis bills that have been introduced yet as of this week. It's just been those ones that I talked about. It's just one did advance. It's that HB 294 one. If you guys have been following my social media or you guys are following it, you've been seeing that I've been posting that pretty much all week, what's going on. So what happened? So HB 294 is a cannabis packaging bill, and what this does is it forces all of us in the cannabis industry to put all cannabis in a black and white, plain, bland packaging with, controlled fonts. I think they wanted sans serif or something like that. And so this is something that we're fighting right now because it doesn't really make sense. And their reasoning for this bill is they want to make it less appealing for kids. They want to make it easier for adults and teachers to identify when kids have these products. And they also want to make sure that we're not mimicking other products too. And we'll get into more of this stuff too. And I get it. You guys are like, what the hell? Because I was too. So that was the reasoning. And also another reasoning, I don't want to forget this, is they said that there was over 1,000 calls made last year for cannabis to poison control, and over 50% were kids. And I was like, to me, that seems kind of low, because if you look at the alcohol numbers, I can guarantee you those are going to be significantly higher. I did look on a national level because at the state-wise, I can't get any of that information. I have to request it, and I wasn't going to get it in time for this episode. Nationally, there was about 6,000 calls for cannabis to poison control, 65,000 calls for alcohol. So when I saw that stat and I said that 500 number is probably trumped by what alcohol issues are.
And you didn't include the 100,000 of alcohol related that aren't considered alcohol, domestic.
Yeah, exactly. Domestic violence.
That's caused by alcohol, but we don't consider it
Yeah.
anything having to do. They're arrested on a different charge.
Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong, kids shouldn't be getting a hold of cannabis, et cetera, et cetera. However, once it leaves the shop, it is on the adult and the parent to ensure that the kid doesn't get the cannabis. Because we could put it in a freaking Loctite, whatever, and package it, whatever. But if you as the adult don't do the due diligence to make sure that that is unreachable by the child, then none of that, all of that is moot. And a perfect example is antivirus on a computer. Your antivirus on your computer is only good if you are a smart browser, meaning if you download something, that antivirus is only going to tell you may not want to download this. And if you say okay and it downloads it and it comes with the virus, that antivirus can't do its job because you didn't allow it to do its job. You forced it to download that file that came with the virus. And so now all it can do is tell you there's a virus and let's try to fix this. I tried to tell you that you shouldn't do this, but you did it anyway.
It doesn't matter what cartoon character we put on it.
Yeah.
What really matters is the giant red THC sticker.
Yeah, some kind of identifying marker. And, I actually, after this bill, and I guess I'll get on to more of the bill before I get on to more of the nitty gritty. So the bill had a committee hearing earlier this week, and it did pass. On Monday, it did pass 8-3, which is alarming because some of the things that was said in the committee kind of, worried me. Then I found out it's a governor-backed bill, and then, a RLD-backed bill. I'm like, oh my God. And, this, to me, just seems like they're attacking cannabis because we're the easiest one to attack. We're not federally legal. We're a new industry. We're controversial. We're still getting things figured out. It's just easy to kick us right now because we're kind of down. And so
Timing.
Yeah.
I just see finances. So what's happening right now in tariffs?
Yeah.
Okay. Just forced a lot of the companies to order a lot of packaging.
Yes.
A couple of months ago.
Yeah. You're right.
Like several months back, they ordered we're going to order 2 years worth of packaging. We're going to order this much because of what's going on.
Yeah.
And now they want to come and say all of that packaging.
Yeah. And they're
valid.
Yeah. And they're saying, well, we're going to give them 10 months to go through their stock. I'm like, bro, they literally just told you some people bought years worth of packaging and you still want to say, oh, that's okay. They can change it. And this is only going to harm mom and pops. Yeah. And that's what worries me. And that's what some of the legislators and I know some people are going to be shocked, but the Republicans were the ones that were actually on the cannabis industry side on this one. It was the Democrats that were really kicking our ass. And so every Republican voted no on this and every Democrat voted yes, from my understanding. Correct me if I'm wrong. And so that really shocked me because usually you're expecting the Republicans to hate cannabis, but they got it from the business sense and stance.
I was about to say, but they understand them.
They understand the business stance. Yeah, and that just really blew my mind because no matter what we were telling them, they just weren't listening. And I spoke to my father after this, who taught for 25 years. And I asked him, I didn't give him my opinion on this bill. I said, hey, there's a bill going through the legislature. This is the details. I wasn't even done giving him the details before he was done laughing. He started laughing as soon as I told him what was going on. He said, oh, that's not going to do shit. He said, these kids, they're not going to care that it's in a black and white packaging. They know the reason why you did that. So now they're going to intentionally take it out of that black and white packaging and put it into a new packaging. So what they've done, my dad didn't say this part, I realized it afterwards. So what you've essentially done is you've taken a package product that is adult rated, that is tracked, traced, tested, and labeled,
and made illegal.
And now you've pulled it out of that package because the child doesn't want it in there because he's going to get caught. He's going to put it into a new package where you have no clue anything about what it is. Maybe it's a gummy. That's probably what you know what it is, or maybe it's flour, but you don't know where it came from, what the testing is on it, if it's legal market or illegal market. Like, now we created a even bigger issue, and now kids are going to be getting cannabis, and we're all getting a lot of this blame when we have this hemp stuff, at the gas stations. You have these really friendly packaging on that side. And so that's one thing where I think it's coming from, is they're mistaking the hemp industry and the black market industry for the legal industry. Because they're like, oh, we understand that the kids aren't getting it from the shop. It's after they leave. And we want to make sure that the teachers and the parents can identify it. I'm like, dude, those kids they're not stupid. And I think that's what's wrong with the legislature, is they're assuming that kids are dumb, and they forget when we were kids, the things that we did and the bounds and the things that we went to not get caught.
I fear anything that favors just one thing.
Yeah.
Like anything in my head that only it's in favor of one thing.
Yeah.
And we can take it out of weed.
Yeah.
So this would be great for Hershey's.
Yeah.
They have the simple plain logo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You take away Butterfinger's colors, you take away Milky Way. Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
But like, Hershey's is doing fine with that label. I sell plenty of products that have a very generic label on it, and the companies do well.
Yeah.
And sometimes people do shop with their eyes. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't see that that's the shiny colors or whatever. I'm not trying to be kid inducive at all. But what about originality?
Yeah.
What about like the fact that you're taking away from something that's known throughout humankind? If you put a film in black and white and you add red, that's different.
Yeah, exactly.
That scene was important.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you're taking away the ability to use what we know about humans.
Yeah.
We know that they're going to be attracted to a bright light. We know that they're going to be attracted to color. I get it. That's all humans, not children, not just kids. You know what I mean? Like, now, if they're coming out with honeybees and maybe, I don't know, it just doesn't.
Like Cheerios, like mimicking actual real kid products. Like, these are M&Ms, when, clearly, for one, you probably shouldn't be calling them M&Ms, and two, branding it in such a way.
I don't sell one cannabis product that has something that talks for it.
Yeah.
We don't have my shop kind of has an avocado. That's a mascot. We don't have mascots.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's a big difference to what they're doing. I just see it as being favorable to somebody.
It is.
Not everybody.
It is. And I'll get into that, actually. This is favorable to the alcohol industry. So after this committee hearing and it passed and everything, and I made, my initial post, I was pissed because how much they were lying and how much I knew that it was BS. So one of the representatives, he goes, I when I had kids, I brought alcohol into the house. I brought guns into the house. But the alcohol, the wine that I had, the box, didn't look like Fruit Loops. And I said, oh, I'm gonna have a field day with this one. So I went to Walmart and I went straight to the liquor aisle. Took me maybe 5 seconds to find a box of wine that looked like a juice box, like a kid juice box, very colorful and very kid enticing. I go around the corner and there's BuzzBalls, and we all know what BuzzBalls are. If you guys don't know, if you're not from America, I know there's a few people not from America that actually watch my show. They're these big plastic balls, and they're colorful, and it's just full of vodka, flavorful, fun vodka.
Food color.
And food color, it's just colored. And looks pretty and enticing for a kid. And so I saw that and I said, you gotta be shitting me. So I keep looking, I see more. I see more color. I see more kid enticing stuff. I see a cartoon dog, and it says, so-and-so approved, meaning that dog is a part of the business. It's their mascot. And then what pissed me off the most was I saw Nestle with Nestea, and it was hard Nestea. And the reason why it pissed me off is because they're giving us shit for having cannabis looking too similar to regular stuff, but you have Nestea over there with the same exact packaging, the same logo, the same color, the same damn can. The only difference between that and the non-alcoholic counterpart was the word hard. And one of the representatives said, some of these packages, the kids are just going to see it. And if a 4-year-old who can't read, how is he going to know that that's cannabis? I'm like, well, how's he going to know that's not hard alcohol? When, to be honest, I would rather the kid get into the cannabis because I know his chances of dying are significantly lower than if he got that can of alcohol.
There's just some unreality to me. So unless you're drinking on a daily basis by yourself, and you might want to, check that out. I'm not judging.
Yeah.
I'm not judging. Yeah. But alcohol is kind of a you enjoy it with other people.
Yeah.
And so I get the advertisement. I get the, you're at the bar, you're clink and all that. I get it. That's what it should be. That's where you enjoy it. And when they take it out of it and you're not allowed to have reality anymore, when cannabis is something that we have a lot of strains in cherry, watermelon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so we're not allowed to put a watermelon on the package.
Yeah, a gelato. Yeah, exactly. And I saw cherries, watermelon, and strawberries on the packaging.
It just, to me, it takes out representation of what the reality of the product is.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like we're taking away, and we'll lose it on that one, but we're not being realistic as to what the expectation of the product is.
Yeah.
If you drink, you're going to get drunk. You're probably going to do it in a social situation. So if that's what they're advertising for, good.
Yeah.
They're not advertising, get drunk at the RPTO.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They have the drink responsibly advertisement thing at the bottom. And that was something that some of the legislators said is like, well, maybe we should change it to where on the packaging it says it is illegal to give a child, such and such cannabis products. And I have seen some packaging have that, and they're just to cover their own ass. And maybe a reminder maybe is something that we need to do.
Everything has to have an 18-year-old and older. It needs to be legible. Honestly, they're worried about the wrong things.
Yeah, they are. And there needs to be more of a push of, okay, how do we educate our parents and the adults to ensure that kids aren't going to get a hold of these products, and it's 420, where are your kids at, kind of situation, like, check their drawers, check their phones, like you are the adult and you're in charge of them. Like kids are kind of I feel are a little lost these days. Just for the fact that there's not great leadership for them. May it be an adult or someone outside of the family, whatever, there's just no leadership for them to look towards. And so now we're stuck in this weird area where other people are getting the blame. Like we get the blame. Like, why are we taking all the responsibility?
Because it's a child and it's never going to be good. And so
sure.
they
what about the children kind of situation?
Well, I mean, it's never, dude, you're not supposed to, kids aren't supposed to drink, but they do.
Yeah.
Right. So they like to maximize the situations instead of actually looking at it as that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't want my son, I have a 15-year-old. I don't want him getting drunk. But I tell you what I really don't want him doing is drinking moonshine.
Yeah. True.
All right.
That's true. No,
so and again, I don't want them, taking substances off the streets that aren't lab tested.
Yeah.
Is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
If I'm not trying to say, if they do get hold of it, it's the truth. Like you're gonna get, not with weed so much. You know what I mean? Weed's weed.
Yeah.
But with other substances, for sure, you're going to get diluted. You're going to get different aspects. Do I really want my kid, if they're going to choose to use an opioid, do I want them using an American one, or do I want them using something that could be fentanyl from Mexico?
Yeah, exactly.
And that it gets to be weird.
Yeah.
And again, there's no.
It's a harm reduction thing.
Kids, there's no good with it. Kids, because nobody wants to say they shouldn't take fentanyl at all. They shouldn't take those pills. You know what I mean? But they're splitting hairs in an area that. Okay, why don't we get the change being big letters, not intended for child usage on the pack? Why don't we include the which are already in play?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But let's emphasize that.
Yeah.
Let's do, if that's an issue, why don't we invest in adult education?
Yeah, because it really should be on.
NRA does. Sorry.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. And like the whole alcohol thing is just like you guys you're being unfair at this point is what it is, and it makes sense that alcohol would attack us because their sales are down. But I don't know if they are behind this bill. But it's just unfair to us because I go to Walmart and these products aren't behind a counter. Like a kid could walk in that aisle if he wanted to. A kid isn't allowed in the dispensary. So
no, not at all.
No, like not even with a parent in New Mexico.
Not a baby.
Yeah, not a baby. No child under the age of 18 without a medical cannabis card or 21 adult. You can't go into a dispensary. But in New Mexico, It's different when it comes to alcohol. You could take your kids into areas with alcohol, restaurants and stuff like that. And actually, in New Mexico, as the parent, you can provide your child with alcohol if they drink it at home. And that's totally legal.
I mean, in New Mexico, in the gas station, the candy aisle is next to the alcohol aisle.
Exactly,
My house is in Texas.
Yeah,
We don't have alcohol in the gas station. Alcohol is prevalent everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I mean, what is allowed and okay in one area versus like we're super strict and controlled.
Yeah.
And I don't mind that. I came from insurance.
Yeah.
It was super regulated.
Yeah.
We had to have all the right licensing and follow the rules.
Yeah.
I don't mind that aspect. I actually enjoy that aspect. Inspections are a pain. Failing one is bad.
Yeah.
But it's not bad because you didn't fail because you have a bunch of mold under your counter and you're gross and you're disgusting. You failed because you didn't know, because this industry is changing and they gave us no rule books.
Yeah. And then when you ask them questions, we can't answer that.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
I wrote our SOPs out of the marijuana law.
Yeah. Yeah. Might as well. Shit.
Well, I mean, they've changed. They progressively, every time they come, hey, you need to add that.
Yeah.
Hey, you need to do this. Hey, you need
Yeah.
to do that. Inspections are just a chance to get better.
Yeah.
But yeah, regulation's constantly changing on us, guys, making it even harder when it's an area that isn't necessarily
Needed.
needed.
Yeah.
Where there's a lot that are.
Because I'm trying to push more or less deregulation where it's needed in our industry, because we're overregulated. There's a lot of stuff that we can cut out that we don't need.
CCD does not test for mold after the original testing process.
Really? Yeah. See? There it is.
Why in the heck are they not inspecting weed in shops, weed in farms?
Yeah.
Once it's passed?
And I go back to this Department of Ag in New Mexico really should be the one that is the one in charge of the growing stuff when it comes to agriculture, right? I kind of feel the CCD just isn't equipped or knowledgeable enough to really be in that area. I mean, it's the Department of Ag. They control all of the agriculture in the state. Why? They do hemp.
CCD's busy.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
a lot of licensees.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of us not doing it right, guys.
Yeah. Take that burden off their hands,
I'm not
man.
mentioning it. I drive by shops that literally haven't reported sales in months, and they're like open. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my god,
I'm with you on that too. So, but yeah, that I guess we'll get back on topic and everything. We got back on some, other. No, don't apologize. I do the same thing. But that's the bill and everything, and those are kind of the stances that we're going. There is a big push by a lot of us in the industry to kill this bill. We're trying to contact some representatives. Please contact yours. If you're following my socials, I'll have links up and stuff. I will be going to Santa Fe for the next hearing. So if any of you in Albuquerque or Santa Fe are available that day, please do. You guys are very close, within minutes to an hour. I have to drive 4 hours to go to my capital. So please, as many of us to show up at this committee hearing as possible to kill this bill, because if not, we're going to end up with some more stupid stuff in the industry that's not really needed, and we're being attacked for no reason.
There's one counter view that they're also forgetting.
What's up?
Speaking of alcohol,
Yeah.
you know that B on that OE, right?
Yeah.
That's their B, right?
Yeah.
So if your parent drove by a park and saw that B on something you were drinking, they'd probably know you were drinking OE at that park.
Exactly.
So what's wrong with us having a mascot that's clear as day for you guys to be like, I know that symbol, and I don't like that symbol with you.
That may be a cookie shirt, but I know what kind of cookies you're talking about. Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? That may be
makes
this
sense.
company's symbol, but I know that company.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just something to be said about that.
Yeah. Kind of like when the kids fuck with the parents. Like, how do you know Pornhub? How do you know a Pornhub?
Yes, exactly.
It's the same thing. They can reverse it. But in this instance, that would help the adults for sure. Knowing for sure, oh, wait, how do you know that? That's something you're not supposed to have. Explain.
I saw this in your room versus a clear white package that they can just be left with paper and you just ramp right over it.
Yeah, exactly. Versus, I know couch lock. You're like, the couch. If I saw a kid with that sticker, I'd be like, why do you have that sticker? If they told me their brother gave it to me, okay, whatever. But if it's like,
there's a company in Arizona. I'm going out of state, guys, but Roll One, and it's Harvest uses them. It's actually their brand, but
yeah.
They, I've seen the sticker in El Paso on people, and I'm like,
no.
So there's something to that.
Yeah, there is, and it's not just for branding for the companies. It does help identify more. So you're right. Yeah. So I appreciate that. That's actually a really good point. And I'm actually going to keep that one for myself. So appreciate that. Yeah. There's your
counterpoint.
There you go. Yeah, I'll use that in Santa Fe. This came from Yucca Point. So we're going to move on to our last topic, guys, and I'll keep this one short because I know this is a long episode. Where are we at right now, Gino? Over an hour?
Long time. I wanted to do one of the short ones. I watched your stuff and I was like, man, somebody's go for an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah. I try to keep them short. Where are we at right now?
About 1:15.
1:15. All right, guys, I'm going to try to keep this in 5 minutes for y'all because I know this has been a long episode. So I wanted to talk about this real quick because the Reefer Madness stuff is back. And it seems like it's full-fledged. I don't know. It's a mixture between, the big pharma, big alcohol, of course, just people who hate cannabis. There's the scromiting stuff. Of course, they got the psychosis stuff that they're coming out with and saying, getting worse and all that. But we have to really ensure that we're being smart consumers too, and we're not proving points.
This is the vomiting, the typical.
Yeah.
Okay, so check this out. I actually have a problem with my stomach.
Okay.
And I went to the hospital recently for hernia surgery. And they told me that. I was like, I throw up all the time. I have for years. And they're like, oh, it's typical. I was like, but I've been since I was in my kids. They found a potassium deficiency. I've been eating bananas like crazy, and I have not thrown up in days.
Yeah. I had a stomach issue not long ago, and I just had a...
Thank you, by the way, for finding a potassium deficiency, doctors.
I went to my doctor and found out that I had a lack of a certain enzyme, and that was what was causing my stomach issues. A lot better.
Not weed.
No, it wasn't weed. It wasn't the weed at all. I thought it was something else, but no, come to find out, I'm just getting old, and I've had stomach issues my whole life, and so I haven't really gotten along with lactose and milk like that really well my whole life, and then now as an adult where I am now, I can't have it at all. And so, that was one of the issues too. So I cut that out completely. And
when you get older, you can't have red sauce. You can't have...
Yeah, exactly. Not so spicy or whatever, your life, everything changes as you get older. And, they're really using the lack of study and research on cannabis to their benefit right now. Yeah. And it's not helping because they can say, oh, well, we don't know if it's cannabis or if it's this, but, they don't go back and check with that person. They went to the doctor and found out, oh, no, actually, I had a stomach infection. Or, I had something wrong with me otherwise.
In college, I learned something, statistic that stuck out. I'm stealing people's stuff here, but
it's good stuff.
They're just relating unrelatable facts. And what I mean by that is, okay, murderers have done two things in common, okay? 90% of murderers have all used drugs, guys, okay? But 96% of murderers have all done something else. That's drink fucking milk. So, I mean, the correlation isn't always there.
Yeah, causation and correlation.
It's not always. Thank you.
Yeah.
And as a college professor.
Yeah, and that's a great way to think about it because I think a lot of people need to hear things like that and realize that causation and all that stuff is different. The other word left my mind for a second, but it doesn't really mean that that's what's happening. It needs to be studied more versus them coming out and saying this is what's happening. Oh my God! And you keep seeing these. Just recently, actually, I think this week, the governor of Oklahoma wants the people to go back and vote on medical cannabis to get rid of it because he thinks it's a mistake. And the real issue is that the regulations never kept up with cannabis. It never kept up with the studies. It never hasn't kept up with the changes. And here in New Mexico, we kind of did, the way that we did it is we kind of planned ahead. We allowed it to kind of catch up. And now that it's catching up, we're starting to do that now and not keep up with it.
We're fighting two aspects.
Yeah.
Stoners aren't known to be the most responsible people, even though there's a ton of us that are super responsible.
Yeah.
And so in our industry, we need people that are understanding of what weed came from.
Yeah.
It came from an illegal market and where it's going, and not necessarily... You get the people that don't smoke weed that are controlling our industry, and you got the people that smoke weed that are controlling the industry is what I'm going at. And there needs to be a nice mixture.
Yeah.
Is where I'm going.
Yeah, and I think we're proof that we can get there, because we've allowed overregulation to kind of just take its place. And then we allowed that overregulation to stay when it didn't work, when it didn't need to be there anymore, or when things changed. It stayed there. And then when things needed to change, it doesn't.
A doctor that doesn't consume cannabis is going to tell you that a cannabis is making you sick.
Exactly. And versus me going to the doctor who also prescribes my cannabis card and says, well, let's test other things first before we roll that out.
Speaking of that, so that is something that needs to, and it doesn't need to change or anything, but that's the way it's supposed to work. You're supposed to go to your doctor, and your doctor will prescribe. That prevents the croaker side of our industry, and I'm not knocking any of that. We need it. The taxes are real, and people have problems in it, and it's a medicine. But the fact that doctors are still anti-weed from so many years that you have to find a doctor that's understanding.
Yeah.
When any physician could be like, I think some cannabis would be good for you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You know?
And you know, the good thing about my my provider is that she's not pushing cannabis on you if you want to do that. And like for my stomach issue, she did give me pills because she did tell me there is an alternate route. And I said, all right, well, let's try this first. And I tried that for a few months, didn't like it. And I said, let's go the alternate route. And man, the more natural alternate route was way better because, you know, you had a pill to counteract the reactions from the other pill that you're taking to fix the issue. So you created an issue while trying to fix an issue versus just trying to figure out what the underlying issue is and can I do something else in my life to
one to take you down at night.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Instead of me trying to eat pizza all the time and ice cream, you know, maybe I should just stay away from that and I will feel better. And to be honest, I have. And now when I try to eat those, it really messes me up, but I just don't. And I wasn't really a big cheese person to start with.
The pill's a generic fix, but not might be a specific fix.
Exactly. And I kind of feel that you know, a lot of the law stuff that we're running into right now, it's the same thing. And it's not the
generic
specific
fix.
Generic
fix.
A
specific fix.
Exactly. Space, like with the label thing, you know, the black and white thing. That's a very generic fix for something that is very specific, and the fix isn't even going to fix it.
I don't. There's certain companies that get their whole deal out of being that black and white.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm like, dude. There's
like with us, our box is black and white, and we actually went that route because there was so much color. But don't force everybody into that category.
You guys would be completely good with the new.
Yeah. I looked at our box the other day, and I was like, well, we don't have to change anything other than the font, but fuck, you know, like I don't want to change the font. You know, like the font is perfect. You can read Reservoir Dogs on it, and then you open it up, and then the container itself has
all of these things.
Yeah,
making a label is complicated, guys.
It costs money. Yeah, we have to pay an artist. You know, we don't use AI. You know, we have to pay a guy to change the label, to change all of this stuff. So I digress on that, and you know, it just falls back to the same thing. You know, this Reefer Madness stuff, and it's not helping at the legislatures either. So one thing that is going to have to change is we're going to have to just ensure that going forward, we're pushing for stuff at our legislatures that is going to keep up with our industry. So we're going to have to think ahead on certain things. And it may be a little uncomfortable at first, maybe a little bit weird at first, but eventually it will catch up because where we're at right now just isn't working. Here in New Mexico, we're doing all right. But in other states, it's not working. Like California, like what they did just...
Michigan is a good business model to look at state to state.
It is, but their taxes are what's killing them right now
because of that tax change.
Yeah, the huge, it's like almost 40% or something.
It was 20 something, and I mean that's so drastic though. That's some people's whole margins.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like.
It blows my mind because, you know, here we don't pay taxes if you're a medical cannabis card. I look at the receipt, how much I save, and I'm like, you've got to be shitting me. Like I saved like $70, $80 sometimes. And, you know, it makes sense. You know, on $100, you're paying 20 something bucks, you know,
you're saving $22 off of every $100 you purchase. You know what I mean? Like, and then it's compound it. Yeah. Save it.
Yeah, exactly.
Get the medical cards. Yeah. Support the medical programs that were put in place that got us recreational cannabis to begin with.
And that helps us with this Reefer Madness stuff too, because it only legitimizes cannabis as a medicine when people are actually having it and participating in the program.
What if somebody is throwing up because of the cannabis? Then they go to a real doctor. They're not just getting prescribed over Facebook.
Yeah.
They go back to their real doctor and say, hey man, the cannabis isn't working for me as a medicine. And then they move on to a different route, which is the point.
Exactly. And that's the reason why, because cannabis isn't for everybody, you know, and you should have...
Or could be.
It could
they don't know it.
Exactly. You know, like because no one's being fair with them and they're being lied to. So that's all I have for this week. Thank you so much, Tom, for joining me this week, man. It was a great conversation. Sorry, everybody. It was a little bit of a long episode this week, but we have some great topics to talk about and everything. So I hope you guys join me next week. Let's see what happens with this HB 294. I always flip the numbers. 294 that's going through the legislature right now. I hope it doesn't pass. I actually hope it doesn't even get heard in this next committee. But we have about a week left in the legislature, so anything can happen at this point. So make sure you like, subscribe, whatever you got to do to stay in the know. But before I go, is there anything else you want to add?
No, I greatly appreciate it. Stop by Yucca Point, 1000 North Main, Suite A. We do have an Instagram. Like, follow, all that stuff, I guess.
What's the handle?
I don't even know on it. It's good. They ban us all the time, guys. Look for the avocado. All right. And real quick, the reason we use the avocado is because of the banning. So we go with something completely just
non-cannabis related. That makes sense.
And we throw the avocado in what we're doing during the day.
Ours is sunglasses, so I get it.
Yeah,
Something
because we get banned a lot.
Yeah, so we're trying to avoid it, and we all understand it. So anyway, thank you guys so much for joining me. I'll see you guys next week. So do good. All right, shoots.